Hello Internet Allies, how are you doing? So this week's been Mental Health Awareness Week, and the theme for this year's Mental Health Awareness Week has been loneliness. And as somebody who has had many experiences in my life having to deal with loneliness, I thought it'd be a great time to make a video discussing loneliness, sort of times in my life where I have felt lonely, and also maybe some tips for other people who may be feeling lonely during this time, or tips to help other people who are feeling lonely, or for other people who may want to reach out to people who may be feeling lonely and to identify the signs of people who may be feeling lonely. So yeah, here we go. So I guess the best place to start is to talk about the times in my life where I have felt lonely, a few examples and whatnot. So, for example, one example is school, definitely. There was many times at school where I felt lonely, uninspired, unfulfilled. Found it really hard to make friends. My confidence was really low, at my absolute lowest. I felt very unsafe at the school as well that I went to. And I think this is reasons because of bullying. A lot of the people I went to school with, I kind of felt they didn't really like me that much. There was also the teachers as well, which didn't make me feel very safe. There was a lot of rules that were enforced that didn't make me feel safe as well, such as how I just took my shirt in, which made me feel really uncomfortable, and I hated it whenever a teacher would pick me up on that, because I really did not like it because of the sensory issues and stuff like that I have and whatnot. I'm autistic as well, so sometimes I find it really hard to reach out to people as well, when I am feeling lonely and whatnot. And sometimes I worry, oh my god, do these people actually like me? Do they actually want to spend time with me? Are they actually going to want to listen to me? There were a lot of times in college as well that I felt quite lonely, especially coming right out of high school into college and feeling lonely, feeling didn't have the confidence to reach out to a lot of people that I might have been interested in hanging out with or spending time with and whatnot. And that was quite stressful as well, because there might have been times where I might have wanted to meet up with a few people outside of college, but didn't really know how to. I was very afraid of rejection and whatnot, so there was all that kind of stuff going on, which then manifests itself into loneliness itself, kind of thing. Then a lot of people that I went to college with initially left, and then I was on my own then, back to square one, making friends again, which was again very, very hard. I didn't really feel like I had a lot of connection to people on the new course I attended at college and uni and whatnot. So it was really, really hard to make friends at that point and whatnot. Again, there were still people around the college that I did know on different courses, but again, I didn't really know how to reach out to them, which did make me feel lonely and whatnot, and didn't really know how to express my interest in being friends with them, because I was worried that I'd be a burden to them. So there's all this thought process going on. And I suppose even in my adult life, in the jobs I've had as well, I've definitely found it difficult to reach out, ask for help, and also make friends at the places I've worked at as well. Thankfully, I do feel a little less lonely than I did back when I was at school and college and uni, etc. I do have a handful of great friends who I do talk to on a regular basis and reach out, and that really, really helps me to cope with life and to keep my social skills, social understanding up and everything and whatnot, and my social confidence up as well. What's also important to remember though with friendships as well is that some friendships aren't good for you. So there are some friendships which may make you feel lonely, which make you feel like you can't be yourselves around them, you can't reach out to other people to help you with those friendships. I've had friendships in the past where I have felt like that, where I have felt does this person actually really care about me? And You know, it could be that, like, you know, if we're spending time together, they'll like ignore me and play games or something like that with other friends, or you know, or if like I'm in a big group of people, you know, I might be sort of like in the background, you know, not being able to like talk or whatever, or not get a word in edgeways and stuff like that, which can make me feel quite lonely myself, you know, make me feel like maybe I'm not able to express myself or whatever. I think this is kind of why maybe I prefer hanging out with, like, you know, one person or a small group of people at a time. You know, I don't do well in big groups. I think another example is if, like, you do want to like talk, you say if you've got like an online friend and they don't reply to your messages a lot of the time, you know, I think that can make you feel a little lonely, you know, if you, especially if you're like reaching out and wanting to talk to them, you know, have a bit of like a heart to heart or something like that with somebody, you know, you're texting somebody and you think like, oh right, you've got you know, kind of a good system going kind of thing, but then like they end up just sort of out of nowhere like not responding to your messages, you know, that can make you feel a bit lonely as well. So there is like that whole like ghosting thing, you know, friends being insincere, leaving you out, making you feel left out, making you feel lonely. And it is better to not have those friends around at all than to like desperately try and hang on to those friendships. I think another aspect of my life which does make me feel a little bit lonely is the fact that I've never been in a romantic relationship, and you know, I'm at that age where, like, you know, there's people out there getting like engaged, married, having kids, and I've never had anything like that, and that terrifies me and whatnot, because it is something that I really, really want, you know, even if it is just that somebody to talk to when I've got like nobody else to turn to. You know, I really would like somebody like that one day. And yeah, it is really hard for me to find somebody like that. And especially like as an autistic person as well, I think autistic people can feel very lonely, very isolated. Maybe it's due to the fact that there's still needs to be a lot more sort of like education about autism, a lot more information about autism, and a lot more awareness and acceptance of autism that needs to be out there. And like what I want to do with these videos is to make the world a more autism friendly place. So yeah, it is a really difficult thing for autistic people to really deal with, especially when they may not know how to reach out to other people to express how they're feeling, if they're feeling sad or lonely or whatever. You know, I think like a lot of autistic people can isolate themselves. So what I want to do with this video is to actively encourage people who may know an autistic person who may be feeling lonely, who may be struggling a bit, to reach out to that autistic person. I mean, that autistic person may need some time to figure out how they're feeling, but it does mean a lot to us, you know, to know that there are people out there who do care about us and whatnot. So yeah, please do reach out to me if I'm a bit quieter or whatever. I mean, to be fair, I have been struggling a bit mentally recently, so you know, I mean, I do have a good support system in place, which is good, but at the same time, yeah, it has been a bit of a difficult time really and whatnot with stuff like work and you know, just some like unexpected setbacks really and whatnot. I also think that loneliness is a really good pick for a theme for Mental Health Awareness Week this year, because past couple of years we've had the pandemic, the global pandemic, as you know, we've had various lockdowns and whatnot. Thankfully, you know, there isn't going to be any more lockdowns and whatnot because they were horrible. I would really not want to go back to that. I mean, I suppose the only good thing about that is like that there isn't as much pressure to get your life sorted, but at the same time, yeah, it was a very difficult time for everybody, but I think it also showed who really cares and whatnot and who is really able to reach out. And I think like the pandemic did have a massive effect on loneliness, to be honest, because especially for people who may be living on their own, you know, like, you know, they wouldn't be able to have like anybody around them and whatnot, like in person to see. And that was awful, to be honest. I mean, I would have absolutely hated to have lived on my own. I mean, to be honest, I think that's kind of what worries me about like living on my own, is the fact that I think I would get like really lonely. I think when I do move out, it will be with somebody I trust, if it is like a good friend or a romantic partner or whoever. I think that's what makes things very difficult, because there are people who live on their own and there are people who get lonely because they live on their own. And that is quite sad to think about, and I don't know how I would cope with that. I think now I'm going to talk about a few tips, maybe about 5 tips for people who may be experiencing loneliness, or for people to help others who are maybe experiencing loneliness. I think the first tip I want to talk about is, you know, having a good support system, or providing a support system for people who may be feeling lonely. That might be, you know, sort of like hosting events, reaching out to people online, or even reaching out to friends, family you may have, people you might be interested in. Try and find like maybe like an event that might interest you. It could be like a music gig or something like that, or like an interest group. So for example, you know, it could be like a Lego interest group where you kind of go to a group like where you build Lego or whatever. Or, you know, it could be, you could even find like a new hobby or something like that. You know, you could pick up like archery or golf. So a second tip I have to help you guys combat loneliness is to either reach out to people who may be feeling lonely, who may be seeming a little bit quieter and a bit more distant than usual, or for people who may be feeling lonely themselves, to reach out to people who you trust, who think may be able to help you. So this may be a friend, a family member, a teacher, a colleague, a mentor, anything like that. I think what helps me to combat loneliness is to reach out to one friend a day that doesn't live with me, so not a family member, not a romantic partner. So reach out to at least one friend a day, because that helps to keep the social skills up, it helps to keep the social confidence up as well. And also it just helps you to know who's really there for you as well. I think the third tip is to listen to people who may be feeling lonely, and also listening to the people who may be able to help you, because people who may be able to help you may have a lot of good tips for you to help you combat loneliness. I mean, sometimes it's just nice to just have somebody to talk to though, just bear that in mind. Sometimes, you know, people just want someone to talk to, really, and whatnot. The fourth tip I have is to just kind of get out of the house. Sometimes, for example, personally for me, I definitely feel a lot more sociable when I'm out of the house anyway and whatnot. I do feel a lot more extroverted when I am out of the house compared to in the house and whatnot. When I'm in the house, I do like my own space, but when I'm out of the house, you know, I do like to be out with other people. And I think sometimes being around other people can maybe sort of help and inspire you to sort of maybe reach out and to talk to people, help you combat that loneliness and whatnot. So I think the final thing I want to say is to set yourself targets, set yourself goals to combat loneliness, or to help people combat loneliness. So it could be that, you know, you either make one new friend this week, or reach out to one new person this week or something like that, or talk to one of your friends every day, like what I do, what I suggest doing and whatnot. And make sure they're like small and manageable goals as well, and just kind of break them down into manageable chunks that you feel comfortable with. I mean, I think it is important to eventually try and push yourself out of your comfort zone sometimes as well when you are feeling lonely, because I think it is a very hard thing to combat. I think if you want to help somebody with combating loneliness as well, I'd say to encourage them, but not force them to do anything. Don't force them to do anything that they're not particularly comfortable with. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you found this video somewhat useful. Please let me know if you have any tips for combating loneliness. I hope you're on a wonderful day. Until next time, keep smiling. Bye!